Something happened in Niger that we haven't really seen before. A violent attack hit the country's main airport. And the reason this airport matters, the reason it's such a target, is what's stored there. Uranium. That's the mineral, which is sometimes called yellow cake, that's used for a lot of things. But most notably, it's a key ingredient for atomic bombs. Now, the aftermath. Its graphic bodies scattered across the airport grounds. Among the dead, reports are confirming the presence of foreign mercenaries, at least one French national, according to what we are hearing. Niger's defense forces, working alongside Russian military partners, managed to repel this assault in, and this is remarkable, about 20 minutes. Now, the speed of that response, the coordination, it prevented what could have been, or I should say, what almost certainly would have been a catastrophic breach of national security. Niger's president, Abdurrahmane Tichani, went to the site himself, assessed the damage, commented his troops, and the images coming out. Neutralized attackers, weapons recovered, motorcycles that were used in the assault, and accomplices who are now in custody. The message from Niger's leadership is clear. The threat has been contained. Now, here is where it gets explosive. In what can only be described as an unprecedented move, President Tichani directly named 3 leaders he believes sponsored this attack. First, the French President Emmanuel Macron. Second, Benin's President Patrice Talon. And third, Ivory Coast President. Tichani's statement was blunt, no diplomatic language. He told these leaders that Niger has listened to their rhetoric for too long. Now, he has said, it's their turn to listen. So what we are looking at here is Niger openly accusing a former colonial power and 2 neighboring African nations of conspiring to destabilize its government. So why France? To understand that, you have to go back, way back actually. France controlled Niger as a colony until 1960, even after independence. It kept, for a lack of better word, stronghold on Niger's economy, especially the uranium mines. French troops were stationed in the country for years. French companies, one called Orano in particular, extracted enormous wealth from Niger's natural resources. Now, then came the coup in 2023 that brought Tichani to power. After that, Niger expelled French forces, terminated contracts with French mining companies. The new government accused France of neo-colonialism, of treating Niger like a puppet state that exists only to serve French interests. And Niger believes France is now using every tool it has to destabilize the country and restore its influence. Sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and, according to Niger's government, sponsorship of mercenaries and coup attempts. Now, Benin and Niger, they share a border. They share ethnic groups, families, history. The borders that separate them were drawn by European colonizers. These are, by all accounts, brothers. So why would Benin's president be accused of betraying Niger? Tichani believes Patrice Talon is too closely aligned with France. When Niger's military government took power in 2023, Talon was one of the first African leaders to condemn it. He called the coup unconstitutional, backed regional pressure on Niger. But there's another layer here. Niger is landlocked, no access to the sea. So, to export its uranium and other goods, Niger depends on ports in neighboring countries like Benin. After the coup, Benin closed its ports to Niger, cut off a vital economic lifeline. Niger sees this as economic warfare, orchestrated by France through its African allies. And just weeks ago, Benin itself faced a coup attempt. Benin accused Niger of supporting the plotters. Niger denied it. Now, with this airport attack, Niger is pointing fingers back at Benin, accusing Talon of allowing French-backed mercenaries to operate from Beninese territory. The president of Ivory Coast finds himself in the same category as Talon. Niger's government views him as another African leader doing France's bidding. Ivory Coast has hosted French military bases for decades. Some have been closed, but France still maintains a significant military presence there. Niger fears Ivory Coast could serve as, or I should say, could become a staging ground for attacks against the alliance of Sahel states. That's the military coalition formed by Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And like Talon, Ouattara supported regional sanctions against Niger after the coup. Niger interprets this as alignment with neo-colonial interests rather than African solidarity. The revolutionary governments in this Sahel sees leaders like Ouattara and Talon as obstacles to its true independence. And this raises a painful question. Can Africans truly trust each other? President Tchani is a military man, a soldier who overthrew his own boss, former President Mohamed Bazoum. Bazoum was widely seen as a French ally who prioritized French corporate interests over his own people's welfare. Now, Tchani stands accused by fellow African leaders of destabilizing the region, while he also accuses them of betraying their continent for foreign powers. The irony is bitter. These are neighboring countries. Their people intermarry. They share languages, cultures, struggles, and yet their leaders are locked in accusations of treachery. There is an old saying, the biggest enemy of the black man is often the black man. When one hand fights for freedom, the other hand fights off betrayal from within. Niger is landlocked, surrounded by countries that could be allies or adversaries. Access to ports, trade routes, it all depends on cooperation. But when trust collapses, so does progress. Niger's closure of its borders with Benin, Benin's accusation against Niger, and now this attack. It's a cycle of suspicion and retaliation. And meanwhile, the people suffer. Brotherhood, it seems, is not guaranteed by skin color or shared history. It's proven through action. So the airport attack has been repelled, but the crisis is far from over. President Tchani has issued a direct challenge to France, Benin, and Ivory Coast. He has made it clear Niger will not be intimidated. With Russian support, Niger's military has shown it can defend the country. But the broader conflict remains unresolved. The alliance of Sahel states, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, continues to position itself as a revolutionary bloc, challenging decades of French influence in West Africa. These governments, led by military leaders who came to power through coups, framed themselves as liberators breaking free from neo-colonial chains. On the other side, the regional bloc, led by nations like Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Benin, insists on constitutional order and democratic governance. The standoff is geopolitical, economic, and ideological. It puts Pan-African nationalism against regional stability, sovereignty against democracy, new alliances against old dependency. What happens next depends on whether these leaders can find common ground, or whether the accusation, border closures, and suspected attacks escalate into open conflicts. For now, Niger has sent a message. It will not be bullied, it will not be destabilized, and it will name names. The question for the rest of Africa is this: will leaders stand with their people, or will they stand with foreign powers? Will brotherhood mean solidarity, or will it remain an empty word? This is Frontline Africa. If you value truth unfiltered and power reframed from an African lens, subscribe, like, drop your thoughts, and turn on the post notification bell. My name is P. Solomon, and I'll see you in the next one.